Welcome back to another episode of the development of Crashed Away. First off, thanks so much for the support I've gotten thus far, the subs, the likes, just talking to me about it. We finally passed the double-digit subscriber mark and hopefully continuing to climb. This week's video is going to be a little bit of a shorter one. At my work, there's crunch time, and that means many days I'm finishing up exhausted. And this project takes quite a bit of effort on its own, so... Alright, once again, for those just wanting a quick update, I spent my time this week on the character controller. I went through a few iterations and I feel happy with how it is right now, moving and shooting around. And now for the breakdown. I really just wanted to start off with a new character controller script. I used Dapper Dino's tutorial as a basis and a link below if you're interested. The first thing was just to get basic movement working, forward, back, left, right. I gave the little capsule a face just to make sure I could determine the direction it's facing and then start working on direction tracking. Something I wanted to play with in terms of facing was using two different setups for directional tracking. The first being a more passive, where the character faces just the direction it's walking around in. And then the second being a more active, where the character faces wherever the mouse is being clicked. I figured this will probably have to behave differently on controller, but I thought it could be a fun distinction of priority. I figured the mouse click would indicate the direction to shoot at, and at this point I could use it to play with other ideas maybe. I wonder if I could come up with either puzzles for the systems and treasure rooms to prioritize where you're facing, or maybe other objects will require directional facing. Who knows? It's now a tool I can play with. After all that was done, I wanted to kind of test the speed of the character right now, navigating the maze, just see how long it took. There's a little timer right now as I ran around. Just seeing how it felt. My initial indication is this tells me that the maze itself is a little short. I'll probably have to tweak its generation to make it larger or slow down the character, but 5 minutes to run around the whole thing seems a little small for what we have to go for. And with that, the next came the gun controls. I set up a basic parent gun script so I could give other weapons more personality in the future, but the premise should be the same. A signal to the script to start the fire action and a signal to the script to stop the fire action. After that, adding ammo capacity and reload just to play with that. And I figured a AR type of weapon would be a good starting point to just make sure these systems were working right. The hierarchy in terms of how the scripts communicate to each other are after the player makes the action call, I figured it would be best to have that action travel to the inventory, and the inventory just manages parsing of the information to what is within the inventory. So then after the fire call goes from the player's action to the inventory, that call then gets passed to the inventory's gun. And I figured that would be a good structure moving forward, is keeping that kind of architecture. The last big thing that ate up quite a bit of my time was playing around with different camera angles and perspectives. I landed on 3 different ones that I think I want to choose from, and it's the perspective at 45 degrees down, orthographic at 45 degrees down, and orthographic at 35 degrees down. I think all have their merit, but personally I'm feeling more like the last one. I think I like how less steep everything feels, but it's not so shallow as to hinder heading up a hill facing the camera. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet though. Let me know if you see any preference or have a suggestion yourself as to what you'd like to see from the camera. After all of that, I still wanted to be productive without consuming all of my little remaining energy for the week. So I figured I'd just start by getting myself more organized. Here's a Trello board as it stands. Feel free to take a look here if you want and see if anything jumps out at you. I plan on using this moving forward just to stay clear and organized. So I guess here's a sneak peek of the weeks to come. And with that, thanks for listening. Hit the like and subscribe if you want to keep following along, and I'll see you next week.